Hello guys, it's Mick Math back here, and let's officially get into the first actual math video here. So in the last video, I just kind of did an introduction talking about kind of the beauties of math and how you can look at it from different perspectives and whatnot, and talking about my channel, kind of the inspiration for it, whatnot. So the very first thing, let's talk about it right now, is going to be, and it's one of the most important topics I'd say in mathematics is algebra. Well, actually, before we get to algebra, let's talk about equations. So let's label this equations. So majority of math is actually done and solved through equations. So this is kind of like a concept that I'm introducing right now, but it will carry throughout middle school, high school, university, college, higher degree sort of institutions. Doesn't really matter. Equations will always be equations, and they will always be important. Now, what do I say when I mean equations? The most basic kind of form of an equation is just something done to something equals something, right? Like, that's the most basic thing we can come up with. Think of 5 plus 7 equals 12, right? So 5, something is done to it. In this case, it's the plus 7 right here. You're adding 7, and then you get something else, which is 12, right? Now, this is like obviously the most easiest kind of form it can take, but let's kind of generalize this a little bit. So let's take a look at the different things that an equation can have within it. So first off, let's write, say for example, let's replace the 7 with an x, right? So replace, let's just write it out, 7 with, that's just shorthand for width, x. Now, what is x? X is, it's not a number, it's a letter, right? In math, letters are meant to define kind of unknowns or things that aren't defined. So say, for example, I know that 5 plus 7 is 12, but let's replace the 7 with an x. Then we get 5 plus x equals 12, right? But what is x? What is x? I don't know what x is, right? However, we can find what x is, right, by solving this equation. And this is one of the most kind of general forms of like higher level equations, because in all higher level equations, you're going to have some unknown and you're solving for it, because nothing in life is really known, right? You're not going to be taking something and then always knowing what it's going to be, right? You're going to have something plus something done to something else, but you don't even know what that something is, right? Like it gets very complicated. So you have to go back and reorganize it and solve it, right? And solve it backwards. Now, in order to do that, we're not going to be doing that quite yet, right? Not in this video, maybe in the next one. But in this video, I just want to introduce some of the main concepts. So this x right here is called a variable. Now, variable, like in the English language, just means something that's changing, right? That isn't constant. Constant and variable are opposites. So variable, say for example, I can let x equal to 1, right? Say for example, sorry, let's I don't know, let's do 5 plus x, right? This is just an expression, right? This is an equation. An equation has an equal sign right here, right? These two bars. An expression is just an expression. It doesn't equal anything right now. We haven't defined it to equal anything, right? It's just 5 plus x. We don't know what it equals because we don't really know what x is, right? But say, for example, x equals 1, right? Like I have written here, x equals 1. So if x equals 1, that's going to mean that it's going to be 5 plus 1, right? And what is 5 plus 1? Obviously, it's 6. So then it's 5 plus 6. Now, this is an equation, right? Because we have defined this. This is an equation now. Say, for example, I do x equals 2, right? Because x can be anything. X can be anything. X can be 10, 20, 30, a million, 5 million. Doesn't matter. X can be anything unless I define a restriction. which here I haven't, so don't worry about that. X equals 2, right? Let's just do 5 plus 2. It's going to equal 7. See, the point is that x is changing. X can be whatever we want it to be, or x can be anything we define it to be. So that's the point of x. It's changing. We don't know what it is always, right? We change it. Sorry about that. So that's one of the aspects. So let's just put x is variable. And then in brackets, variable, in brackets, we'll put changing. So we can let x be anything we want. It's always changing, right? So then, that's a very important thing to understand right here. This is going to be the focus of mathematics from here on, pretty much. This variable, how to find it, how to define it, doing things with it. That's going to be it. So stars around that, because that's going to be very important. Next important thing, right? Say, for example, I have 5x plus 6 equals 30, right? I'm not going to evaluate this quite yet, but just know we are going to get to this point soon enough. This right here, right? This number, these two numbers, they're constants, right? They don't have anything about them changing. It's always going to be just 30 and always 6, right? Regardless of what x is, it's always going to be plus 6 equals 30, right? That doesn't change at all. Therefore, we call these constants because they're always constantly the same. Whereas an x is changing, right? We can let x be anything. We can let x be 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. Anything. This is a 6 in any case. This is a 30 in any case. You can't change it. There's no room for change. It's just what it is, right? However, this x, this 5x term right here, right? This is important. So here we have two actually different components of this term. What I mean by terms is things that are divided by symbols. So say, for example, 5x is one term, 6 is one term, 30 is one term, because they're all divided by symbols, right? So anyway, this 5x right here, 5x, let's disassemble it. We have a 5. That just means multiplied by an x, right? 5 multiplied by x. So 5 x's, essentially. X plus x plus x plus x plus x, right? 5 x's. 5 times x. This right here, this 5, this is what we call a coefficient. This is what stands before, just coefficient. This is what stands before a variable. X is a variable. The number that stands before it is a coefficient. By notation, we always write it before the x. That's just to indicate there are 5 of those x's, right? 5 being multiplied by those x's. That is a coefficient. And then this is a variable, once again, right? So pretty simple, just 5 x's. X plus x plus x plus x plus x, right? 5 times. You add it together, you get 5x. Just a shorthand notation. This is a constant, it doesn't change. This is also a constant, it doesn't change. The x is a variable, it changes. We can let x equal 1. Say, for example, x equal 1. Therefore, we're going to have 5 multiplied by 1 plus 6 equals 30, right? Now, obviously, this isn't going to work out. This isn't correct. But I just wanted to show you we only change the 1. We only change the x. Nothing else has an x, therefore we don't put x anywhere else. These are all constants. The 5 is also a constant, but it's on the x, so it's gonna be with the x, but it's not actually gonna change itself. You know what I mean? This term is gonna change because of the x, but these aren't. They're all the same. And pretty much we can build, from those understandings, we can build very complicated looking equations. So say, for example, I have 102x plus 87 equals 1035, right? Now, these are big numbers. Like, wow, these are big numbers. However, it's still the same equation as this. It's just different numbers. But it doesn't really matter, because as long as you understand what each thing is saying. 102 is being multiplied by the x. The x is unknown. Usually we're trying to find the x. For now, we're not looking for that, but just know it's 102 x's. You're adding 87 to this, and it has to equal 1035. Constant, not changing. Constant, not changing. Coefficient attached to the x or the variable. The variable can be an x, a y, a z, a w, whatever you want. It doesn't matter. And an x, the variable, right? The variable changes. The variable always changes. It can be whatever we want, okay? With those basic understandings of an equation, those building blocks, we can then build very complicated parameters, models, whatever you guys want. And I'll show you guys kind of in the next video. We'll do an example on some of these terms, and I'll go through step by step how I know which one is which, just so you guys know, because this is a very important thing to understand from the get-go, and I want you guys to know this, okay? Thank you very much, and leave a comment down below, and leave a like if you enjoyed, and see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.